Okay, welcome to day 117 of trying to become a SOC analyst. We're on the LetsDefend platform. We have a SOC alert 306, critical system file deletion. This is the incident responder alert, so it's an escalated case from level 1. So let's have a look at the alert. I've assigned it to myself already. So as we can see here, we've got type incident responder, Dominic's the host name, we've got an internal IP. Command that's triggered the alert is rm-r audit.rules. Detects the deletion of audit.rules file, which is critical for audit logging. This is the notes from level 1. I saw a command in the authentication logs that searched for 87.ip. I couldn't confirm whether the related operation was part of the job or belonged to the attacker. Okay, sorry, couldn't really see those notes very well. Maybe I'll zoom in a bit. Okay, so let's jump onto the endpoint just so we can launch the VM, as it takes a while. So Dominic, it's Ubuntu, normally used by analysts. Go to lab. Let's confirm. I've zoomed in too much. All the hats, let's grab. That looks like a hat. Is that a hat? That's a hat, I think. All right. We'll let that load. So we've got logs here. Sorry, this is yesterday's log. We'll change the search to our new internal IP. Okay, so we've got some OS logs. Is this from audit? Oh no, okay, this is auth logs. So we've got fail password for SSH, and it's from the IP that was mentioned in the level 1 ticket. So it looks like it's targeted at user analyst. Okay, so it looks like there was a brute force attempt on user analyst, which was successful after about 7 attempts. So we know that's how the attacker's logged in. We've got endpoint, we've got monitoring. Okay, let's grab this IP and go to IP abuse. And the time frame was July 24. So it's been found as malicious in the database, but let's look at the timestamps. So we're looking for 24. So around that period, it's been flagged for brute force, SSH. So that fits in perfectly with what we're seeing. Okay. So what did their attacker do once they logged in? While we're waiting for the VM to load, we can look through the terminal history. Okay, so it looks like fairly common recon. Who am I? What groups do they belong to? What groups are there available? Are there any files that have passwords? So looking for any sensitive files. And it looks like they've figured out that they've got sudo access, which is strange because they haven't ran like sudo -l to find out what their access rights are. Maybe they've just had a shot. But they've added a user lettsdefend with 2 T's. So trying to obfuscate it a little bit. I'll just open that up in a new window. Then they've changed the password for the lettsdefend user. They've looked in auth.log for their IP. assuming they found it, so they've then deleted the auth log. They've then gone into audit.rules.d, and I'm assuming this is where they deleted it. Yeah, so they've read what the rules are and then they've deleted it. Okay. So we have a fairly good idea of how they got in. It was brute force. We have a good idea of what recon they did. And for persistence and elevation, well, they had sudo, and they also added an account. So we can actually start the playbook before we do anything on the endpoint. So start playbook. So verify the alert, confirm what was escalated to us. So we've already gone through the logs and have a good idea of what's going on. Review alert details, look at sysmon logs, proxy logs. So we've looked at the initial SSH logs from this malicious IP. There'll probably be the audit logs in here as well. So let's open up one of these to have a look. So that's when they read the audit rules. So we've already saw that on the endpoint when we were looking at the terminal history. So that's the user add and lettsdefend. So we've sort of already gone through all that. That's just confirming in the log interface. And what was this one? Oh, that was changing the password. And then there's some DNS lookups, which we don't have access to. And what's the final one here? Oh, that was deleting the audit rules. So we've saw those commands in the terminal history already. So we'll go back to our playbook. Review alert details in the investigation channel 2. Looking for abnormal and defensive evasion attempts. So defensive evasion attempt, we saw that they deleted the audit rules and they also deleted the auth log. And I'd maybe even argue that they tried to obfuscate the user that they added. There's most likely a lettsdefend user and they've tried to add the extra T in there to sort of blend in. So we'll go next. Identify potential defense evasion activity on the processes or network. Okay, so we just talked about that. We've had a look at the audit.rules that's been deleted and the auth.log. We know that it's Linux, and following points can be examined to detect discovery actions, check the audit log, and review system log and auth log. So we know those are the ones that have been deleted. But let's go and see if there's any. Well, firstly, we're logged in as root, so we can look at bash history. So we can see some of the commands that we've already saw go through there. And we know they logged in as user analyst. And they figured out quite quickly. Oh, actually. Etc. Sudo users. Okay, so they figured out quite quickly that they were in the sudo group with no restrictions. So they did sudo su to get to root. So it was login, privesc to root, and then they ran the commands that we already see logged. And we see that there's the lettsdefend with 2 T's added. So it doesn't look like this profile's been used yet. There's no bash history or anything in here yet. Audit Okay, so we still have some audit logs. 87.249. But there's no attacker IP in there. Auto color equals auto. Grep, that's just mine, isn't it? No, it's not. Exec message equals order. Arg3 grep color equals auto. Is that the command when the user was looking through the log? Let's go back to terminal history. Was that grep? Oh, here. Okay. So that's that command. Okay. What was the other one? Cat auth.log. Two, 4, 9. Okay, so it does look like the auth log was cleared. It's only my logins from today. Okay, so I'm sorry, I got out of log. Audit. And it looks like the rules is still missing. Etc. audit rules.d. Sorry, my mistake. Cd such etc. audit. Okay, so that's been cleared. So okay, confirmation of that. So let's continue on. We've ran through what they wanted us to check there. Determine the type of defense evasion techniques involved modification or disabling of security measures. Abuse, elevation, access token manipulation, domain or tenancy policy modification, file and directory permission modification, hijack, execution flow, impair defenses, indicator removal, modify authentication process, modify registry, modify system law, image or none. So looking at the MITRE maps, impair defenses seems like the correct answer. That's the MITRE map I had open for another alert, but it actually, if we go back, it does look like for defense impairment, what was our option? Impair defenses. Is it the same? Just do a quick search to make sure. Impairment defenses. Impair defenses. Sorry, I searched wrong. Oh, here we go. For mobile, for enterprise. So I'm getting a bit confused about if the playbook's just listing the technique wrong, as I can only find that technique under mobile. So disable or modify tools. Adversaries may disable, degrade, or tamper with security tools or applications, endpoint detection, response EDR, intrusion detection, antivirus, logging agents. So I mean, it does look like it fits here. And then it would be .004, disable or modify a Linux audit system log. It's just the phrasing, defense impairment, whereas the playbook saying impaired defenses. I think it's the only one that fits anyway. So let's choose that. I'm pretty confident that's correct because I had this page open from another alert. So I've obviously come to the same conclusion on another playbook. All right, I'm going to stick with it. IOC analysis. During the investigation, did we find any IOCs? Well, we have the IP. So yes. And we did a reputation check on IP abuse and it was malicious. Or I should say suspicious in this case, yes. Define the scope. So was there any other, is the IOC seen in any other logs? So we can get the 87 IP. Oh, it's over there anyway. Copy it. And our endpoint for this alert is 107. So we're only seeing 107, 107. So the scope is no, there was no other. Is there more than one affected device? No. Should the device be isolated? Yes. So containment. And the reason is obviously there was a user account added. So the user can get in at any time now by logging into that lettsdefend user. And also the user is also brute force the analyst password. So that we know there's definitely 2 compromised credentials there. So yes. Containment, we've done that. Lessons learned. Well, we pretty much know the chain. It was a brute force into privesc with sudo. And then defense was to modify the audit logging capabilities, and persistence was to add a valid account. So then I want artifacts. So really we only have the IP as the main artifact. And then we could probably add like the user account that was added as an example as another artifact, but this artifact page doesn't really have the ability for us to add that. But in theory, we could add the targeted account. We can do that all that in the notes though. So we'll just put the IP for now. We could put the endpoint as well. Actually, it's in their alert, but considering we don't have many artifacts to add, there's no harm in adding this one. So we can put attacker's IP and endpoint. Next. All right, I'll pause the video and I'll write some notes. Okay, so I've written up some notes. We've mapped to the MITRE attack techniques. So we've got credential access was the brute force, initial access valid account, discovery system owner / user direct discovery of permission groups discovery. This is the recon that we're seeing. File and directory discovery, privilege escalation, abuse elevation control mechanism, sudo, persistence, create account, local account, and defense evasion, indicator removal, clear Linux or Mac system logs. What we've got: attacker brute force SSH credentials for user analyst on host Dominic. Following successful login, the attacker conducted system recon, escalated privileges via full sudo rights, created a persistence backdoor account LetsDefend with 2 T's, then deleted auth.log and audit.rules to cover tracks. When brute force activity prior to July 31st at 3 p.m, successful login at July 31st, 3:10 p.m, audit rules deleted at July 31st, 3:14 p.m, which is when our alert triggered, where we've got the host name Dominic, the internal IP, the 172 address. Their attacker's IP was the malicious 87.249.134.136 IP, and the path was var/log auth.log and etc audit.rules.d audit.rules. Who external threat actor via 87.ip, abuse IP database, malicious, brute force, SSH, compromised account analyst, full sudo rights, backdoor account created lettsdefend with 2 T's. Why? Analyst account held unrestricted sudo rights enabling root level access. Attacker exploited this to add persistence via a new local account and remove logging artifacts to hinder forensics investigation. And then just a summary down the bottom. Brute force attacked from 87.ip, compromised analyst account on Dominic, 172. The internal IP. Attacker escalated to root by a sudo, created backdoor account lettsdefend, and deleted auth.log and audit.rules. Endpoint contained. Remediation requires deletion of lettsdefend account, analyst password reset, SSH key rotation, and credential audit across the hosts. So because the user was on the host with root access, they could have got etc shadow, they could have got the SSH key, so we want to make sure we rotate all that and delete the account they created, and obviously rotating the credentials they logged in with. So we could do that now, but it's not really needed in the playbook and it's all pretty straightforward. But we would just connect into the lab and we can do delete user, we can delete the SSH keys, etc. So let's log it. Okay, the log's gone through. Let's close the alert and see how we went. So we're going to say true positive. We have fairly big notes for this one. We're still hitting our streak, which is good. And okay, sorry, here's our results. Okay, let's go through the summary. It was a true positive, yes. Should the device be isolated? Yes. Determine the scope. There was no other devices infected. IOC check. This was, did we have any IOCs? Yes, we did. IOC analysis was whether it was suspicious or not. We said yes, it was. Determine the type of defensive evasion technique, and we went with defense impairment. The playbook option was impair defenses, so just so you know. But I actually think I might, I flagged it incorrectly. I did 002. I meant to do 004. Or we could nail it 006, clear Linux or Mac system logs. Okay. And determine the type of, oh no, that's one we just went over, and determine the OS Linux. So pretty straightforward alert. We have the security alert now that we've completed it. We can have a look at their official their official analysis and see how in depth they went, which will give us a good indication if we're covering it correctly. So looking at the table of contents, it does look like we sort of covered what they did. So they talk about their alert. They look in the logs and can see the brute force. They're looking at the audit logs. They can see, they can see the brute force here. They go to the endpoint. They're saying to contain it. They did a reputation check, which is what we did. They looked at history, similar to looking at cat bash underscore history. So they saw the same commands we saw, just a different way of doing it. They checked the logs to see if the IP was in there, which we did that as well. They checked that the rules were deleted. We did that as well. Okay, I didn't run that audit CTL-L, which I guess lists the current audit rules. So that would have been, that's good to know. So they saw the delete. They already saw that, I think. Windows, impair. So we've covered all that. Should the device be isolated? Yes. Contained. Artifacts, the 2 user accounts, the 2 files that were deleted, the host. Okay. I mean, they didn't even talk about eradication or restoring. So I think nailed it. I'm pretty happy with that. So we can close that. And in fact, we can close that alert off. I'll see you on day 118 of trying to become a SOC analyst. Still going to be just working through the incident responder alerts. Thanks for watching.